Hey guys, my name is Hannah and I would say let's have some fun today. So today I want to do with you a little chit-chat video about my favorite 10 spring palettes, because I thought about that I did lately mostly makeup videos where I do my base and my eyes and everything like that, and today I really want to keep it a little bit more chilled out and yeah, talk to you about my 10 favorite spring palettes. And maybe there will also be 2 honorable mentions in that. So yeah, we will see. But if it sounds good to you, then stay tuned and I would say let's get started. So my palettes that I will show you today are not in a specific order or something like that. I really just show you 10 palettes. I think they are really beautiful. I love them all and I love them especially during the springtime, because then I always think about their color stories and that I want to create some looks with them. So let's get into it. The first one I will show you is from Mcgrath and is the Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey palette, and this is the palette I'm wearing on my eyes today. I think this look is really spring appropriated and really light and airy, but also really there, so you can definitely see it. And I'm really loving this one. Every palette I'm showing you today, of course, is for every season, and I'm not just sticking to them for springtime, of course, but they reminding me really of that yeah, time around every time I'm looking at them. So this is one of them. I think when I'm looking at it, it's really Easter painting, eggy heavy, if you know what I mean. So it's immediately reminding me of that. I really love this one. It's mostly shimmer heavy, like we are aware of when it comes to Mcgrath, and this is exactly my style. I love it very, very much. But yeah, for those of you who don't love that, so that you are aware, it's a shimmer heavy palette, but the mattes are performing really nice in here. I think the mattes are a good choice, at least in my opinion. I really love them. And yeah, I really love the color story. I think you can make so many beautiful spring looks like mine today. I think they are so sparkly, so there, but at the same time they are so airy and beautiful. And yeah, this is really a palette. I created so many beautiful looks with it for all year round, if you know what I mean, but I really mostly think right now of it when the weather is getting a little bit warmer, and yeah, I really want to play with it right now. So that's that. But initially her mega palettes are winter time releasing palettes at the Christmas time around, but I really like to pull them for spring summertime out as well. I really love that palette, and now I'm really reunited with this one, if you want it like that, because I didn't thought about it for a period of time now, and now I really want to use this one again. So this is telling myself that this one is really a spring summer palette, if you want it like that. For me, it's really reminding me of that, so I really love it. So the next palette is an older palette of mine, and this is a palette that was one of the first palette I ever got for me when I was introduced to some brands I never heard of, when I was introduced to makeup, and I, yeah, spent my time a little bit more around that topic. This was one of the first palettes I really bought for myself, and it's the Kali Bible Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. I really like it. It's not my favorite palette anymore. I don't want to say that this palette isn't beautiful or anything like that. I really like it, but in comparison to my palettes that I have now in my collection, I'm not really stunned by this anymore, at least not that much. But when I'm using it, I really like it. I love it anyways, and I think the shimmers are not really insane, but I especially love this area right here when we get to the little bit more darker and yeah, sparklier part. But all in all, this palette is really light, airy and beautiful on the eyes, and it's looking so nice and yeah, just very ethereal, and therefore it's really reminding me of springtime. You can really do a neutral look, but with fun pops of colors. You also can go a little bit more, yeah, darker, but spread a little bit of that springtime colors in it, and the look is really transformed completely. So Therefore, I really like this palette and I think it's really beautiful, but right now in the springtime I really want to use it a little bit more and give it a little bit more attention and love. So the third palette of the 10 I want to show you today is my Naked Urban Decay Ultraviolet palette. For me this one is really yeah, winter and spring palette, to be honest, because of its coolness. When we look at this row right here, this really lilac-y, cooler shades, and this bluish one right here, the shifty bluish one. This is really reminding me of winter, but it depends on how we are using this one, if you know what I mean. You really can do a beautiful, beautiful peachy spring palette, sprinkle a little bit of this, yeah, color optimized with warning in it or euphoric, and it's looking so much more spring appropriated than winter. So therefore I think this palette is somewhat really versatile in that sense. It's not that versatile, but you know what I mean when I'm saying that. So I really, yeah, love it right now. I want to use it again. I really didn't use this one for a long time, and now when I wanted to do this video and I grabbed this one, I looked at it and I thought to myself, I really want to use this one again. Because it was a long time now that I put this one on my eyes. So I really want to do that again, and I think springtime is a really good time for that, especially for those peachier shades right here. But I really want to make a combo with the peachy and the violet shades for spring. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, this one is really somehow reminding me of spring, and I'm really excited to pull this one out again because it's more light and airy than you would thought when you look at it. So therefore I really want to use it as soon as possible again. So the next one won't be a surprise for you guys. It's my Mcgrath Labs Celestial Divinity Luxe Quad in Fleur Fantasia. It's this one. I don't have to say more, right? It's peachy, it's light, airy, pastel-y, lilac-y shades, it's rosy shades and a little bit of gold. I think this palette is screaming spring right away when you look at it. So I don't think I have to say much more about that. I love the things I've done with this palette. I love the looks that I've done with this palette. And it's not that versatile. The look will always look a little bit alike. A little bit of versatility you can get out of it, of course, sure, but it will always look more same, if you know what I mean. But this is nothing I'm mad about it because I really love it. It's so airy, so nice. If you want to slap something on your eyelid and want to be out the door, I think this is also very beautiful, but you also want to look like you give yourself a little bit more effort with your eyes, or you want to look spring appropriated anyways. I think this is a nice, beautiful, fast, easy palette, and I'm really loving it for that. The next palette is a palette that's for my more neutral people out there that like more, yeah, airy and nice neutral looks, but with a little bit of pop maybe. And this is the Flutter by Colourpop. I love this palette so much. Maybe you wouldn't think immediately of spring, but I really think this glittery shade right here, this sun flare shade, you can create so light, airy, neutral looks with it, and therefore I really love it. But you can also go a little bit more bold, but make it spring-like anyways, if you know what I mean. So I think this palette is really nice and beautiful and really airy, and I don't know, I'm really loving it. I love the looks that I created with it. Every time I think I want to maybe declutter it, I never do it because I love it too much. Every time I'm using it, I love my eye looks, and they are so sparkly, so beautiful, and so fresh looking every time I'm using this palette. And therefore I think it's a really nice, beautiful, airy spring palette as well. So at number 6 is again a Mcgrath eyeshadow palette. You will see her a little bit more. It's the Rose Decadence palette, and I think you can see why. Mcgrath has so many rosy, peachy tones in her collection, so those are really all the tones that are reminding me of spring, and therefore I think here's a little bit more Mcgrath sprinkled in than I intended to, but here we are. I love this one very much. I think the looks are so stunning, so fresh, so beautiful with this palette. Some people I know don't really like this one, but I really enjoy it, and every time I'm using this one I enjoy the looks I created with it. And yeah, I have my fun with this one. I don't use it that often because I have so many rosy, peachy palettes in my collection, but when I'm using it I know why I bought it and I know why I love it. So in that case, really want to pull this one out in spring, or now is spring, so right now I really want to pull this out again a little bit more and have a good time with this one because it's deserving it. For sure. So the next one is again a Colourpop palette, and it's a collaboration between Colourpop and Sailor Moon. It's the Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon palette right here. I love this packaging, I love Sailor Moon, and I love this fresh spring vibe that this palette is giving me. It's really airy, nice, but also a little bit more bolder than you would think. I love this yellow. Oh, when I'm looking right now at it, I want to use it again. I didn't use this one for a long time. Maybe this will be my next look with this beautiful yellow right here. It's so beautiful, guys, and this glitters here, this glitter shade right here, Mare Serenitas, I hope I spell it correctly. This glittery shade right here is not that chunky glitter type of an color. It's really so light and airy and really sparkly, but really not that chunky. So therefore I really like it, and I love to use this one as a topper for everything in this palette. To be completely honest, I use this one very, very often when I'm using this palette, and yeah, I really love it. It's really screaming springtime at me, and I want to use this one right now. When I'm looking at it, I really want to use this and I don't want to disturb my look right now, but if I could have more eyeballs to play with, I would use it right now because I think it's so cute, so pretty and so beautiful, but airy at the same time, you know? So I really appreciate this one to be in my collection. So the next palette, I don't think it's a surprise for anyone. It's the Nomad Cosmetics Harajuku palette right here. Guys, this is spring in a palette, really. This is my #1 spring palette I think immediately of when I think of spring. It's really beautiful, really light, really airy. You have a row that's with normal mattes, you have a row that's with more satin shade, and you have a shimmery row. So you have everything in one palette. It's so beautiful. Some people don't like the satin formula that much, but I really enjoy it. I'm a big fan of shades like that. But yeah, all in all, I really love this palette. I think it's so beautiful, and it's really a nice, beautiful, airy spring pastel palette. And I think this one, I don't have the pastel palette from Natasha Denona, but in my opinion, this one is relatively good up there to compete with the Natasha Denona palette, because yeah, I used this one because I was inspired by the Natasha Denona pastel palette, and I used this one instead. And I was really not mad about the look I came up with, and I thought, yeah, I think I maybe could also use the Natasha Denona pastel palette for that look I did at that day. So yeah, I really love it. It's really versatile, and I'm really happy that I can play springtime around again with it, and I will definitely do that. The last palette is a very controversial palette. It's a palette really many people didn't like, and it's a palette some people like. But I think the most didn't like this palette. So I'm in the category I really love this palette, and it's the Melt Cosmetics Millennial Pinks palette. I think it's so beautiful, so spring-like, so nice. I really love this one. I love my airy looks, but you can also go a little bit more grungy with this one and make a grungy spring look, if you know what I mean. So I also like the shimmers. They are not the shimmeriest shimmers in the world, yes, but to be honest, I also have days where I don't want that. I don't want to have so many shimmery specks on my eyes, and I want to keep it relatively simple, and therefore I think the metallics or shimmers in here are really beautiful and really nice, and I don't have an issue. I especially love this shade Ruby Spar. I think this is so beautiful. I'm really a sucker for such shades, and I think, yeah, all in all, the palette really reminds me of spring. I love that it's so cohesive, so so stunning. I love the combo between the rosy, the silver and the blackish grayish shades. I think this is a really nice rounded up palette and I have my fun with it. To be honest, I use it really often. Not just spring, but all year round I use it so often and I really love this one. But especially for springtime, I think I will use it much more often than I used before anyways. So yeah, I really love this one and it's, in my opinion, a beautiful, beautiful spring palette to pull out. So apparently I can't count, but this is nothing new. This wasn't the last palette, it was the 9th and not the 10th. So we come to the 10th palette now and this is the last one. And it's again from Mcgrath. It's my Divine Rose 2 palette right here. And I don't think I have to say much more about that either. You see the really nice springy shades. This palette is so versatile and so beautiful. But especially around springtime, I really want to pull it out and play with it. I love this golden shade, this bronzy shade, this greenish, shifty, rosy trio chrome shade right here. This is really spring in a palette, guys. This is spring in a palette. I really love it, especially when you combine it with this rosy shade and top it off with this really sparkly one right here. And maybe put this yellowy shade in your inner corner. Do I have to say more? This is really springtime on your eyes in the end when you put it like that. It's so beautiful, so stunning, and I love it. And if you want it a little bit more, yeah, neutral, but spring appropriated anyways, those shades right here, those, yeah, dusty, rosy shades are everything. So in that case, I really love the looks that I created with this, not just for springtime, but right now I really want to use this one so, so bad. And I love it. I love this one, I love the quality, and I love the looks that I came up with this palette. So I really want to give it some more love around springtime, for sure. So guys, those were my 10 spring palettes that I really, really love, that I really use all year round. But right now, springtime, I really want to give them so much more love, so much more use, so that I have the feeling that I really use the palettes that I bought for myself. But we are not at the end of this video yet. I want to give you 2 honorable mentions that are relatively new in my collection, and I think you know what I'm talking about if you're a little bit around here. So let's do this. The first one is a palette I will maybe mention again around summertime, but I think you also can use this. It's the Natasha Denona Loco palette. You can use this also around springtime when you stick to those colors, to the gold, to the orangey shade right here, this bright, beautiful orangey shade. And yeah, I really love to use this one right now also, regardless if it's summer or spring. And I really, yeah, I think you also can use this one in a really nice spring way, because you have some pastel options right here. And this is my first honorable mention, and I really love the looks I came up with. I didn't have this palette for a long time, but I really love to play with it, and I really want to use this around spring anyways. Maybe because it's newer, but yeah, I really love this, and it's reminding me more of summer than of spring, to be honest. But regardless, I came up with so nice spring looks, so I really want to talk to you about this palette as well. And the last palette, it's from Melt Cosmetics. It's the Amori Mariposas palette. Guys, I love this one so much, and yeah, this one, it's reminding me also a little bit more of summer than of spring. But anyways, I can create such beautiful spring looks with this greenish row right here, especially with this lighter greenish row, with this one and this yellowy, yeah, beigey shade right here. I think it's also really spring appropriated. And even though this shade Abuelita is really, really flashy, I don't know, if you put it on your eyelid, I think it could also be a beautiful, beautiful spring shade. So therefore I really love it. And you also can make some, yeah, neutral shades and pull a little bit of, yeah, brightness back in there with maybe with the shade Mariposa or the greenish Carino shade or something like that, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think you can make this palette really spring-like if you want. So this is my other honorable mention I wanted to talk to you about. So guys, this was all of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit more of a talking video and I showed you some palettes. I hope you get some inspiration and you pull out some palettes from your collection and play with it. And I just want to remind you that you look a little bit more into your stuff that you already have, and I bet you will find some beautiful spring palettes that are reminding you of that kind of in time. And with that being said, I would say we will see each other in my next video. Until then guys, bye.